check, sound check. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
All right, Judy has entered the chat. Okay, let me readjust. Every time somebody comes on with me, I have to readjust to where I am because now I'm no longer the center of attention. So I have to, I know, right? So I have to reposition so I can kind of be in the picture. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name, but they said hi, perfect. So I guess they're letting me know it's CCHIICCOO. I don't know. I think it's one of my followers, but I apologize when I don't want to butcher someone's name, but thank you for the feedback. Hello, welcome to Warrior Wednesday Recovery Chat. Tonight is my special guest and long dear friend named Judy. Okay, Judy doesn't have a last name. It's just Judy. Just Judy. Welcome, Judy. All right, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to jump right to it. You guys, like I said a while ago, I am leaving the comments on. So if anything piques your interest and you decide you want to comment, or really, if you want to ask let's get the pink lights in there. You want to ask a question, throw it in the chat and we will try to get to it. So we're going to jump right into it. Thank you, Judy, for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, you sound perfect. All right. So, Judy, I hear you're in recovery from addiction.
I am. And if I see September the 15th, it'll be 11 years. So it's been a long time.
That's awesome. I believe we share a very close in date. Mine is December 16th, 2011. So, but we did not know each other then. And we met each other through the work we do, peer support. But Tim says nice. Tim was my guest last week. We met each other through peer support back in a little teeny tiny town in Mississippi. Y'all have never heard of it, so I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but I promise you've never heard of it. And she don't live there, but we worked in the same little tiny town. So the reason I shared that was because we both come from very different paths, and I went to Mississippi. I got on a bus and I traveled for 24 hours because it takes that long when you ride a bus. And that's where my recovery started, was in Mississippi. Judy already lived there, but then through the forces that be, we met each other through our line of work. But Judy has come a long way since then. Can you tell me a little bit about, I want to get to your triumphs and your accolades and whatnot, but I'd like to know, is there well, first of all, let me just ask you outright, did you struggle with addiction for a long time?
I did. I think, I normally don't ever say that my addiction really started until I was like 19. But I used off and on from the time I was 5 years old. Like I would use different things to change the way that I feel. And then I think at 19, I was going through a divorce and I thought, now it's my time. So I kind of started getting a little bit worse. I don't want to say worse, but I was old enough then that I could get what I wanted when I wanted. So it kind of started like really going down a fast pace very quickly from 19. So I know my mom said I would never make it to 21. And at that time, I was just drinking. So, and I say just drinking very lightly because a lot of people think that's not a problem. And I was drinking so bad that she really didn't think I'd make it to 21. So at 21, I walked in her house. I patted myself on the back and I said, well, I made it. And she said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to go do what I do. And just it steadily got worse from then on. So it was several years. I would probably give or take 25 years in active addiction.
Wow. Okay. So listen, guys, a little preface here. I know Judy really well, so I can kind of come out with my authentic reactions, which I might not necessarily do with another guest, but she's all here for it. So I'm like, there's some things I'm just learning right now. And so I have to ask, 5 years old?
Yes. I kind of grew up in a house where it was just there. So, like, I think, and I say five because from 13, from about 12 down, everything is kind of very distorted for me as far as time. Like, I can give time frames, but I can't give specific times, if that makes sense. Like, I had blocked so much stuff out that it just kind of got repressed, even in mine. So, but I know it was around 5 years old. I do remember learning how to make sure that when my caregivers were drinking and stuff, that if I got their alcohol, I learned real quickly to make sure I put it back where it belonged because, I got caught. And when I got caught, the consequences were not great for me. So I started learning how to make sure I the, put it back exactly. So I learned how to manipulate and I learned how to do things to so I wouldn't get caught, if that makes sense.
I cannot even imagine 5 years old. I don't think I ever knew that part of your story. So it was drinking at 5?
Yes. I think the first time I actually tried smoking weed, I was probably about 7 or 8. And I don't like that. I didn't like it. So, like, that wasn't my thing. I never cared for it. But I did. I think the first time I ever tried it, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And, I lived in Chicago, and my friend's parents gave him the joint, and that's what we smoked. We went in the little stairwell, tried it. I would smoke cigarettes. My mom would throw them out. So, like, very, very young age, I started picking up and doing things that would change the way that I felt.
Wow, that's so young. I really can't imagine. Wow. Okay. Okay. So, I
It's
mean, really, that's all you ever knew in a sense?
It was. And, I've learned, like, I remembered I'd heard somebody else speaking one time and they was talking about, like, reading was their first drug of choice. And I remember even as a kid, like, I would read a lot because I could be whoever I wanted to be, wherever I wanted to be, have the family that I wanted, the life that I wanted. I mean, so my escape started, it wasn't just drugs. Like, I escaped through other avenues, like, reading books or doing things that gave me an adrenaline rush. The more dangerous it was, the more fun it was.
Oh, yeah. Sure, sure. Well, given all that, when did it take a turn? Do you recall that you decided that because I do know that you did turn to a heavier type of drug. So when was that?
Um, I'm trying to think. I want to say I was probably in my later 20s. Um,
Was
later
there was
20s,
there
early start.
okay, was there something that like what caused that? Because at this point you were just still drinking?
I drank and I took pills and, I done all
Oh,
the other stuff that was more like I started doing, prescription drugs, like I would get them first from the street, well, then I learned how to get it from the doctor. So, I went from, it sounds horrible, but that's, I
I'm sorry.
started, yeah, because like I would like say things and like, okay, well, you need this. I'm like, okay, now I know how to get this. So, but that started in my 20s. I want to say I was probably around 25, 26 when that started. It kind of grew, and then I think I was closer to 30 when I got on the harder stuff, the street drugs and that kind of stuff. So,
Was that because you were chasing a different kind of high, or is it because it just became more accessible? Or did you try it once and it was like, oh my God, this is it? Was there, because I never got to those hardcore drugs, and so I am kind of curious as to what what was the fascination with that?
see, which was crazy because, and this is going to sound funny, but I was real anal about doing the hard drugs. Like, I'm never going to do that. Those are bad, because I didn't realize what I was doing was just as bad. So, like, I had gotten on some medication because I had some mental health issues at the time. I was very suicidal, very young, at a very young age. So I got real suicidal. I had a lot of depression, a lot of issues in that aspect. And so they give me this medicine, and I had gained this weight, and I thought, and I'd always been small, so I thought, well, maybe I'll try it. to see because I heard all these people talking. So like, and then I kind of tossed it to the side, and then just so happened I ran into an old buddy, and that buddy done that stuff, and I was like, well, let me try it, and didn't want to because I didn't want me getting caught up in that lifestyle, and I was like, well, I can either do it with you or I can do it with somebody else, but I'm going to do it. And that kind of started that path. Like, it was just, I guess, a curiosity,
Mm.
maybe.
Right,
You
and
know,
you liked it obviously when you tried it.
yeah,
So it was just all, we're going to continue on with this
right.
because it was good. Like if you hadn't have liked it, maybe you would have taken a different path or something. I'm
I
just
would have
curious.
thought so, yeah, because like I said, I was really hardcore against stuff like that and never really thought I could get addicted. Now, I know a lot of people say you can get addicted to it like the first time you ever try it. I don't believe that happens to me. I just believe I was an addict to begin with. Like, I think I came out my mother's womb an addict. That's what I believe.
I
And
do
I
I
just
do
think,
believe in addictive personality.
hmm
Yeah, that's interesting. Are you
yeah,
addicted
so
to anything right now?
work,
Not drugs, not drugs.
work, work, and more of whatever else.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just had to ask because we do replace one addiction with another. Sometimes we do. I don't. Okay, maybe a Starbucks, but I catch myself here and there just so I can prove that I don't have an addictive personality. But anyway, um, so okay, I just lost my own train of thought. Uh, Let me think of what I was gonna say. We're not gonna get quite to that yet, but okay, so I'm not going to go get all in depth into that, but I was just curious of some of the things that you said. Tim is saying, I definitely have an addictive personality. Oh, you do, Tim? Okay. Um, and I do believe that people can have an addiction. I've heard so many people say that. And so, oh, I know I was going to say, okay, I'm just going to interject real quick. Are you still addicted to Mountain Dew?
Mellow yellow.
Mellow
Yes, ma'am.
Yellow. Yes.
Hey, I am doing better though. I only drink like 2 cans a day most days, so that is a whole lot better than all day every day. And I have started
Oh.
drinking water. So, yes, but mellow yellow is something, but like I have always, like that's again, I don't think that wasn't me trading one thing for another. Like I've always had that habit since I was like 16 years old or younger.
Oh, the Mellow Yellow?
So, yeah, so that's something that has just kind of stayed with me. And I smoked for a long time and I vape now, which one of these days I may get rid of too, which I plan on it. But I've realized that, man, even good things, like I'm addicted to a lot of things, and I can get addicted real quickly. Like I have certain foods that I will eat for long periods of time, but then I get done with it and I'm done with it. So it's kind of weird how I will do that. But like working and I know we're not getting into that right now, but even like with my job and the things that I'm doing in my life to get to another place, like I get very addicted into that chase, that chase for something better, to do better, to get better, to be in a better place. So I'm still addicted to that part. I get even with my recovery, like I can
Oh,
get really. I mean, I done a lot of meetings when I first got clean, and like for 18 months, and wouldn't do anything else. Like I always put everything else to the side to go to these meetings until I realized that even in my recovery, that it hasn't given me nothing if I'm still taken away from my family. And so I had to start kind of giving back to my family some of the things that my recovery had given to me.
oh, that's beautiful. Yes. So you guys, first of all, Judy is addicted to Mellow Yellow. Okay, that's not the recovery we're talking about. But we've tried to get her away from Mellow Yellows. It's kind of funny, but she's addicted. She's just admitted. So she didn't cross addict. She's just always been addicted to Mellow Yellow. But apparently she drinks two a day versus all day. So that is process right there. And then the other thing, yes, you did seem to live and breathe recovery. Everything was recovery. Work was 8 hours of recovery related work, peer support. And then all the meetings. I mean, guys, she just like I think she slept at the meetings. We chose different pathways for our recovery. So she's a NA baby, I believe is what she refers
Yeah.
to herself as, and you just got to find what works for you. But that's her pathway. But literally, I didn't know she didn't still live and breathe it. But at one point, she lived and breathed it all. And uh, so do you know, was there like was so this went on for 27 years, was there a moment in your life where you were like, oh my gosh, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, I need a new life, and you
I
chose recovery?
contemplated, yeah, I contemplated for years whether or not I was an addict or not. I think I went through several years. I think the first time I went to a meeting, I was 26 or 27. And I remember filling out the little pamphlet and the Who Am I an Addict pamphlet, and I could not answer yes to all of the things that was on there. By the time I got to recovery, by the time I got to treatment, I could answer yes to all of them. But I contemplated that back and forth for a few years, and like I would know I was an addict, and then I was like, no, I'm not. You know, because I had moments where I didn't use, like I would quit and stay quit for a couple months here and there. And so I thought that I was still controlling it. Like I didn't think I had a problem. So the problem really came like towards the end of it, and I was like, I really have a problem. Like I can't quit. Like I mean, I cannot quit. I had attempted to quit like several times, and at the end of the heavier stuff, like all of it together, like I tried several times, and I just never could. I never could stay away from it. I always went back to it, and I continued to have consequences over it. And I had, you know, my daughter didn't want to live with me anymore at 9. My son was in Afghanistan, and he's like, you know, I don't want nothing else to do with you if you're using, like, you no longer have a son if you continue. So at some point, I got to a place where I knew I needed help, didn't believe that I could get help because I felt like if I went to get treatment, I was going to lose my daughter, who was still a minor at that time because there's 2.5 years between my children. So I felt like I was going to lose her. I didn't think that AA or NA would ever help me. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew I didn't want to trade one drug for another. So I didn't want to get on, I didn't want to get on the MAT program or like methadone or nothing like that. I didn't want to do any of that stuff because I didn't feel like that would make me clean. So I had gotten to a place where I was very hopeless and thought there's no way out.
Did you ever
So
think about ending your life?
several times. The first time that I eat, well, you know, even the first time, like I said, I had a lot of mental issues even at a young age. So at 7 was the first time that I attempted to take my life. I was about 7 years old. The last time was after I had caught charges, and I was 39 years old, and I was fixing to have to go into treatment, and that was the last time that I've attempted to commit suicide.
You obviously did not succeed. Did you choose a life of recovery after that?
Well, at this time, yes, because I knew I had to go to treatment, and I think I was I share this a lot. Like I became very grateful. Like when I caught charges, that was I used to tell when I tell my story a lot of times. I tell people that God came knocking on my door with a badge and a gun,
Can you tell that
and
story
so
now?
yeah. And what happened was, you know, it was April 2011, and you know there was two officers that come knocking at my door that day, and I remember being so mad. And literally, like I had quit again. I don't know if you want me to get too into it, but I became a manufacturer.
You
So I was actually
just keep it as clean as possible. But yeah, I want to hear.
right. So I had began manufacturing methamphetamine, and I had been doing that for years. And so like I had quit doing that several times. This was the last time that I quit doing it, and I said I'm not doing this no more. 3 days after I'd done that, the law came knocking on my door and said, you know, They done a search in my house. I really didn't have anything in my house that they could get me for, but they got me for it, if that makes sense. Which is the reason why, when, I remember days before that, I remember praying, and I remember screaming out, like, God, I need some help. And then when they come knocking on my door, I'm like, not like this. This is not what I'm talking about.
On my terms.
Yeah, let me tell you how this is supposed to be done. But, they came in, they took me to jail, they charged me. I wind up going for my indictment, and they threw the second indictment on me. And so I had two felony charges. I was 39 years old, and they offered me to be able to go to treatment. They
Mm-hmm.
they offered me drug court, and drug court is, I don't know if it's called the same everywhere. Some people call it recovery court, but they offered me that, and with that, I knew I had to do treatment. So in my mind, I was thinking, I can go to treatment finally. Finally, I can give this a shot. Because I thought, this is a judge telling me I have to go to treatment, so therefore he's not going to take, custody of my child away.
Mm.
And so that was the moment when I really thought that things could change for me. Still didn't know how, still didn't know what that was going to look like, but definitely knew that things could change. So I got into treatment, and I think I had actually was almost completed my primary care, and I wound up staying for transition. But in that moment, I thought, I'm 39 years old. Well, let me back it up. I turned November the 30th is my birthday, and so I'm sitting in treatment November the 30th, 2011, and I remember thinking, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I have nothing to show for my life. And I looked around the room, and there was 19-year-olds in there, and there was, and he was on the fourth DUI felony. I mean, he was on felony DUI. Then I seen this guy over here, 67-year-old guy, of people in there with bachelor's degrees, and people like me that didn't really have an education was sitting in the room with me. And I realized, man, I don't have nothing. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a home to go to. I owed three counties on misdemeanor charges, plus another county on felony charges. I was on misdemeanor probation, felony probation. I was like, something's got to change. So I think that was the aha moment for me, that I have to get my life together and like do something different, or I'm going to die. And I don't want to die like this.
And so you went to the court ordered inpatient treatment and all that. Did you know in your heart or gut that you were going to stick with that, or did you have any thoughts of maybe not sticking with it?
No, no, I don't know, because it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of went back and forth about a lot of stuff. But my intention was not to go in there and stick with it. But because I didn't think I could, my whole life has been using
Uh-huh.
something. So when I went into treatment, my thinking was, I'm going to go in here and do this little 45-day treatment. I'm going to finish this little 2.5 year drug court thing, and I'm going to try all these drugs that I haven't tried yet. Um, that was my plan. That, and I had contemplated my next set of felonies because I was going to get those people that signed the papers on me. So, I mean, I was still pretty messed up when I got there. I still had plans for when I. So that day, like I said, even that day, that November 30th, 2011, that moment, I knew that something had to change. Like, that could no longer be an option. But going into treatment, I didn't believe I could do it. And I don't think I ever believed in myself even maintaining recovery until after I hit 5 years clean. Because every birthday celebration that I've had, I kept saying, I don't think I'm going to make it to the next one. I don't think and it's not because anything was bad. It wasn't because I wanted to go get high. It wasn't because I wanted to use. I just didn't have no faith in myself because my whole life had been about it. My whole
Sure,
life.
sure. Yeah, and I was going to say that sounds like you just didn't believe in yourself, and I think that's true really of all of us in recovery. We didn't believe in ourselves for some reason or another. But wow, I thank you for being so transparent about that.
You know,
But
and he was asking me about suicide, but Sherry, I don't know if you know this about me, but I never meant to make it to 45 years old ever. Even from a little child, I never thought I would make it I never intended to last past 45 ever. I
I don't
just didn't want,
understand that. Well, why do you say that? Did you have dreams that you were
bec-
going to
no,
pass
I
it?
just I didn't want to live. I did not want to live past 45. I had so much thinking in my head that like I just didn't want to make it to 45, and I truly lived a life that would ensure that I would never make it past that.
Well,
I
sure.
done.
But if you had not changed it, absolutely.
So I'm
Probably.
grateful. Yeah, I'm very grateful. Like I've made it way past 45.
Okay, I know you're younger than me, but you couldn't have made it way past. I thought she was like 5 or 6 years younger than me. I don't
I'll
know.
be 51 this November.
Oh, you're catching up to me.
I
Okay,
am.
she's catching up. Okay, I thought you were a little bit younger, a little bit more younger, however you say it. So, you, so that was it. There was no turning back after November 30th of 2011.
No, that was my first treatment. That was the first time me truly trying to get clean. Like the other times that I would quit, like I would quit doing certain things, but I don't think at the end I was ever clean from anything because I didn't believe that I had a problem with prescription drugs because the doctor gave them to me. So I couldn't have a problem with them because, the doctor said I needed them.
Yeah.
So that was not a problem. And I knew I had a problem with alcohol. I knew I had a problem with like the harder street drugs, but the prescription drugs it held me during times when I didn't think that I had a problem. So literally me working and like you said, I am an NA baby. So, but me working that program is what helped me to see that was a problem for me. Because when I start looking at even how I done that, like it I was in a bad shape. I was in a bad shape, and I can see now that I was very much addicted to that, and I done just as many things probably wrong. Like I would take them from I was married, and he had some prescription medicine, and I would take them from him when he didn't know it, and I didn't think I was stealing because it's my husband. And so I had to look at the reality of that and see how far down the road that even, the prescription drugs had taken me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was the yeah, I dabbled heavily in that, and that was the source of my demise. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So, but this is about you, not about me. So that's why I like you being my podcast, my chat, because
Yeah.
we don't talk about me. Uh, okay, yeah. So then there was no turning back after that, and so let's let's catch up. So what you've done since then, you have, I believe you got your felony expunged.
I did.
I didn't know
I
that was a
completed,
thing. Can you do that? How do you
yeah.
do that? Tell me about that.
Well, actually, mine was not supposed to get expunged. So I share that because I got on drug court and so they had told me that if I'd done drug court, I could get them expunged, but I didn't realize that there's an adjudicated and a non-adjudicated felony. So one you can get expunged, the other one you're not supposed to. I had the county that I lived in was very mad at me, so they made sure they wanted me in prison for the rest of my life. Like they had given me 50 years for both of my charges. Suspended all but 15, but and I just share that to share this. So the way they wrote them up is that I was not supposed to get them expunged. So when I completed drug court, I started asking questions. Am I going to be able to do this? How much is this going to cost? I had already talked to an attorney. Didn't realize that they had an attorney that worked closely with them that would help me. But actually, they allowed me to pay this attorney a little bit of money, a whole lot less than I thought I was going to have to pay. And they expunged both of my felonies. So well, if you've done a background check now, I don't think you would find anything because everything is like either cleared off my record at some point because I haven't been in trouble even with misdemeanors and since 2010. So 12 years. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, if anybody is watching right now, or still in here, or just joining, there is hope. You can actually possibly get your felonies expunged. So don't ever think that where you are now is, you're stuck there, because this person that I'm talking to, Judy, that I'm talking to, she is a living proof. Of course, we're both living proof, but she's out here getting felonies expunged, bachelor degree. She's working on her master's degree. So tell me a little bit about, so I believe you got your bachelor's since I moved away from Mississippi in 2016. So since that time, you got a bachelor's. Is that correct?
I did. So since then, so I want to share this too because see, for some people that in active addiction, like when we don't really like we don't hold jobs very well either. So since
Mm-hmm.
I have been clean, I came off of disability. I was on disability, like I had worked for years, but then I had gotten on disability because it had just taken me so far down. So I was on disability. Since I've gotten clean, since 2011, I have actually um, got a job. I've held this job for, if I stay there till November, 9 years. I have the second job. I think I've been here at my second job for 6 years. I also have, so when I talked about being addicted to work, so here it is, guys, the third job. I've held it for several years as well. I did attend full-time online college. I started that in 2019. It was supposed to take me 4 years. I'd done it in 2.5. I did get a bachelor's degree and I finished January of this year. I began applying for my master's program at that time and I just started my master's in July. So I actually got to walk across the stage in Arizona. I went to Arizona for graduation. So it's the first graduation I've ever attended because I've never graduated, nothing but treatment. So
Drop the mic. Y'all hear
so
that?
that
Y'all
was
hear
that.
that? She's out here just picking up bachelor degrees, and she never picked up a degree before, or you never graduated before. You never
I
graduated.
never graduated before.
Okay.
I actually finished the 10th grade, but with an incomplete. I went the year I was supposed to have graduated and got my GED, but then that's as far as it ever went. It
Mm-hmm.
was in and out of different jobs, um, just different things. I was in and out of jobs until, like I said, I was on disability.
Yeah, so let
And,
me
it
talk
was,
about that for a second. So, yes, you guys, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being on disability whatsoever. But Judy is just sharing that, sometimes people are on disability for temporary physical, mental health setbacks. Sometimes people are on disability and they just get better, or they do whatever work, or they get whatever physical treatment they need, or whatnot. So, disability in itself, there's nothing wrong being a disability. But Judy, can you tell me just a little bit about how that came about? Because that's just so fascinating. Like, you don't hear of people coming off disability often, but they do. They do. And some people, this is the population I work with. I do work with the Medicaid division, community. No, Medicaid community. And there are people on disability that don't even know that they can come off disability. So tell me a little bit about that.
so it's very like when I started applying for my disability, like I did have a lot of mental health issues. I had been to a crisis stabilization unit for a while because I had gotten into a very bad state of mind. Probably one of my lowest points in my mental health. I really, really got bad. And so I wound up, like, I got to where I couldn't go to work because I don't know if people know this, but like, if you have a mental disorder, like, it begins affecting everything else about you. Like, my physical health started suffering as well.
Oh,
Like, I had a lot of,
absolutely. It's mind body
yeah,
connection. But yes, a lot
it
of people
is.
don't know that.
They don't. And, so I started having a lot of pain. So I was missing a lot of work. So it got to where I couldn't hold a job because it was always something. They finally approved me for my disability. And I think I was on disability almost 10 years or about 10 or 11 years. So a long time. It was a long time I was on it. So that was my journey getting onto it. So After I started working, I worked about a year at the agency where I'm at now, and I came up for a review. And my first thought, you guys, because I had worked for a little over a year, I was a year at that agency, but I had worked a couple jobs prior to that. So I'm going to say I worked about a year and a half. So I've been doing good, going to work, doing what I'm supposed to. But when they told me that I was coming up for a review, the first thing I thought is, what am I going to do? What if I have a psychotic break and I lose my check and then I don't have any insurance? I have no income and I have to start this all over again. So it was very, like, I try to share that with people because it is so scary because I know that was secured. I knew I had a secure amount of income coming in every month. I knew that I had, health insurance if I need to go to the doctor. And so my first thought was, and I wanted to be off of it. So y'all, for me, I wanted to be off of it. I wanted it to be going back to work and doing those things. But my first thought was, what if something happens? And so I had to quickly remind myself that I had been working and with no situations. I was completely off of mental health medicines. I was doing what I was supposed to, paying my bills, and I loved it. Didn't have any issues. So that was my biggest fear. And then I had to work for like a year with no medical insurance. And for me, like that next year after they had taken me off my disability, like I literally borrowed money to get to work. I mean, at the end, because I only got paid once a month. I don't know if anybody else knows what it's like to work for, the state, but you get paid every month.
I
And
forgot
so I
about that.
literally, by the end of the end of the month, I was normally borrowing money to get to work, but I held on and kept doing, what I do is show up for work and do the next right thing and trust in a power greater than myself and, ask for help. God, that was so hard. Ask for help. And I survived a year and I don't know, maybe I'm doing too much, but like I had actually, I was going to resign from my job because I wanted to be full time and I had not been full time. So I was still just working part time. And, I think I had my resignation letter written out. I was going to leave. And, something happened, just said, Judy, just kind of hold on. And I stayed. And I actually got a job working at a state hospital. And so I worked two jobs during that time. And I was able to apply for health insurance on my own. So, I kind of made it that way. So it was a journey through that whole process.
I can imagine, and honestly, it's unfortunate, but I think that so many people on disability are stuck or they feel stuck because it's almost like a trap for exactly, I hate to say trap, but for exactly the reason you just said. Because although I didn't go through that, I can only imagine how scary that was. And I do remember because I was with you during that time
Yeah,
when you were transitioning. And it is extremely, it has to be scary. I mean, I've been without insurance, period. But to be set, and and I think this is also how a lot of people say trapped in addiction. So this is just more and more kudos to you because you were getting that check once a month, and it's easy to stay in addiction when we have money. Okay. It was really hard for me to keep up addiction when I was broke and homeless and I had no way out. And I personally never exchanged favors and quid pro quo. I never got into that depth of addiction. So I'm not saying you did. I'm saying I didn't. So I knew that I once I was broke, I was out of options to what to do. But I think that, but to be on disability and then for you to want to challenge yourself and say, I think I can do this, when it would have been so easy to just stay there. So, and it would have been okay. I mean, you were on
yeah,
disability for a reason. Um, so there's just so many remarkable aspects to your recovery story. So it didn't just end there, it didn't end there, it didn't end there. And here you are, you're going and going and going. And so you're off disability. You work a couple full-time jobs. Y'all, the cool thing about this is Judy, I have to share this. Okay, because this is what you call a crossroads. So I used to manage an apartment property, rental apartments, okay? But they were linked with the mental health care system, which we worked for. And so basically, you had to be receiving mental health services to qualify to live in these apartments. And I made a decision that I was going to move to Virginia from Mississippi. And my boss, I had the most wonderful boss for the owner, the property managers of this place. And they trusted me. They entrusted me with the responsibility of, you can find your own replacement. We'll be happy. So I went to Judy, okay? Excuse me. I wanted Judy to replace me. She wouldn't do it. She said no. No. Okay. And I'm like, I was going to leave regardless, but these people have been so good to me. This company have been so good to me. I wanted to, it was my baby. I wanted to know who was taking over. And, there was nobody jumping for the job. Nobody knew. I gave a 1 month notice because some wonderful things happened in my life and I was going to move. So, but anyway, I don't remember exactly how I convinced her to take the job, but she does. She said no, she wasn't going to do it. But I have to believe that because she did take it, it afforded her these opportunities that have come her way because now she had a rent-free apartment. Okay, we got to live in those apartments. She's still there. She's 6 years. I'm like, God, I moved 6 years ago. Damn. So she's still there. So it afforded her these opportunities. And I want to share that because sometimes it's just a little fork in the road and you're going to go this way, you're going to go that way. And I don't really want to dwell on it, but what if you hadn't, changed your mind? Like, where would be, well, I know where I would be, but where would you be right now? You might still be in the same place, but just you took a different way. I don't know. But they call those, is it crossroads? What is it called? Or
I would think
mirror?
it's kind of probably because when you first so I've been on my own since I was 15. So I had been since I had gotten in trouble like for 5 years of the first 5 years of my recovery. Every year my goal was to have my own place again because I've been on my own since I was 15. So I have not had to I've had to live with somebody for 5 years. And that was something. So when you had asked me about it, if you remember, I was working the two part-time jobs. I was working with the agency that I'm still with, and then I was working at the state hospital. I'm like, I'm not going to work three jobs. Well, here we are. I'm still doing three jobs, but
I couldn't remember exactly what it was or why it
mhm.
was because it was also the location might be a little convenient for you. So you did move in a little while after you officially took the job, right?
Right, I moved in pretty quickly after, I
Oh,
think, but
okay.
the other thing was, my family is an hour away from me in
Exactly.
two different directions, so I
I
have
didn't
two
think
di
you would leave them.
yeah. So those were the obstacles that were in my way when this first came up, and then the more I thought about it, and I talk about praying a whole lot because I work a program where it talks about praying, people can pray to whatever, whoever, whatever. I do have a higher power that I do trust with my life today. And so, like, I talked to that higher power. And the more I prayed about that and the more that I thought about that, it was like, this might be the opportunity because with me, because if you'll remember, I told you, Sherry, I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to take the job unless you make me full time. And you said, Judy, you shouldn't have gave him an ultimatum. You remember
Oh,
that?
yeah. Oh, my God. I'm so
And
good.
I said, what were they going to do? Say no? That was going to be the thing is they're going to tell me no. So I went to them and I said, if you'll make me full time, then I will work and take this position at the apartments as well. And so that was the deciding factor when they came back and said, okay, we'll do it.
I forgot about that. Yeah, they would have been a fool to not. No, no. And it's like, what did you have to lose? Because, yeah, and here you are. And I'll never forget when Oh crap! Now I don't remember her name. My boss lady at the apartments.
Rachel.
Rachel. I never forget when Rachel told me, I to me, she said, "I trust your judgment," because I was like, I have got the person. And I don't write reference letters. I don't recommend people. I'm just real hesitant to do things like that. And but I just knew you could, because I don't know if you remember, less than a year into it when I was the manager, I had made up my mind I was quitting. And I think I told you, but I know I went and told Pilar. I was like, I'm done. I can't do it no more. I'm quitting. I was hell bent. I don't know. I don't remember what it was or why it was, but I was like, oh, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. And I went and talked to Pilar, and something happened. Something changed. And then I just got this new burst of energy for it. But I wasn't even there. I wasn't even managing it a year. But thank God, because I almost made a huge mistake myself by not doing it. But anyway, that's a little of our backstory. And so here Judy is. She's committed. She's been doing this apartment management for 6 years, and then everything else under the sun that she does. So now you're in your master's degree. You're working on your master's degree. What is this, psychology?
I now my bachelor's degree is in psychology. My master's is in social work. So my end goal is to become a licensed clinician social worker. So what that's going to entail is that it's going to take me about 18 months if everything goes as planned to get my master's degree, and then I will then have to be under 2 years of supervision before I take the licensure test. And at that point, I will actually be an LCSW, um, which is
Oh
my
yeah,
end
that'll be
goal.
cool. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my goal. So, I do believe that this is, I want to share this because, like, I used to be that person that would kind of just I either didn't go for goals because I was afraid, or because I didn't think that I could, or I would just go head first into things and didn't think things through. So my journey, like I've had to sit still and wait and I've had to wait in the hallway, if you will, for the opportunity to kind of come up and so that I can make sure that I can follow through with my dreams and my goals, if that makes sense. Because starting out here, like I really wanted to be further along. I remember sitting in treatment and they said, "What's your 5-year goal?" And my 5-year goal was to already have had a bachelor's and a master's degree and my own place and be living in Florida somewhere. Thank God that none of that, like, I don't want to say thank God that didn't happen, but I know that I had a lot of growing to do in order to be here, because I needed to be dedicated. I needed to be committed. I needed to, you know, have that self-efficiency that I needed to continue on this path, because I quit. Like if it gets too hard, I quit. I've quit before many things. I've quit marriages because they weren't working for me no more. So, you know,
That's funny. That's funny. I didn't know that side of you.
So, I mean, it's just, when I hear people talk and they say, well, Judy, like, I can never imagine, because I'll tell stories, and they're like, I can never imagine you like that. Thank God. Because there was a time in my life I couldn't imagine being where I am at today.
Isn't that
Because
an
I was so,
amazing feeling?
right. Yeah. Because I mean, when you live a life like that, to be able to come back and give that back to somebody else, and show them that just because you came from there doesn't mean you have to stay there. And that's one of my biggest goals in this field that I work in, is that I want people to really be able to believe in themselves and believe that no matter what, they don't have to stay where they came from. And let me say this, because I want to do a disclosure on this, because I don't want people to think that I'm putting anybody down. But I came from poverty. I came from the streets of Chicago. I came from, you know, my family, like they used and they done this and they done. My mom was a drinker. My dad was. They quit. They quit on their own without a program. And I can't imagine that because I could not. So, I mean, I came from a lifestyle where we just, we took things that we wanted if we wanted it. That's what I knew, and so like, fighting, stealing, manipulating, like that was the environment that I grew up around that I knew. So I never knew that people could get out of that. Like, and I remember feeling like I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. Like I'm never going to reach any goals. And I had a whole life that proved that to me for a long time. I had a whole life that proved to me that I'm never going to get out of that. So, me coming into recovery and, I want to share this. I had been in and out of church. I had been in and out of a lot of things that I thought was going to help me and it didn't. And then I came into a 12-step program that taught me to have a relationship with something greater than me that wanted something more for me than I even knew I wanted. So that to me is amazing. Like I actually have a relationship with a God of my understanding. And I say that because my understanding had to change from that. And with doing that, I, I want to give credit where credit's due. So I have a higher power that makes sure that I am healthy and that I'm stable, that makes sure that I'm able to have a vehicle and gas in that vehicle to go to job. So I give credit to a higher power that provides me these things, but that higher power says, Judy, you've got to get out and do something. Like I can't just give you a bachelor's degree, like you're going to have to work for it. And so by the time that I went into school for this bachelor's, I could no longer apply for government assistance. I mean, that had to come out of my pocket and through student loans. And that's, if I had not been here, Sherry, like you were talking, had I not moved here, I would not have been awarded that privilege to be able to go to school and still work. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have had the funds to do that. I wouldn't have had the money to do that.
That's amazing. Amen.
So, I do want to give. So, I mean, I know a lot of people say, well, God don't just give you everything. No, but if He's providing me health and making sure my transportation is still working and it's not falling apart going down the road, like I have a God that has provided all of that stuff for me that allows me to be able to go to work and do things. I didn't do this on my own. I done this with people like you that said, "Hey, why don't you take this job?" I done this with people that said, "Hey, let me tell you about the school I'm in online. Maybe this one will work for you." Like, because I had people come to me. A friend of mine came to me and said, "Gee, let me tell you about the school I'm doing, and it's all online." And that's how I got here. I didn't get here by myself.
It's
I've had a
amazing
whole
that when we do things for ourselves, we actually attract that energy that you're talking about, where people are coming to us and bringing us these resources and this information and everything. So you're attracting that when you're doing that. I got to tell you, Tim says oh yeah, Tim is from Chicago. The gentleman I interviewed or chatted with last week, and he is also saying amen to your story. So I'm the odd one out here. I'm not from Chicago. Okay. I went there once, but my God, that's just such a testament. I mean, just all of that. And I'm so glad that you shared that.
Yeah, I just think that it's a very important, it's part of my story, like, because, I mean, I know people that come into recovery or they'll get clean, they get their life back a little bit, and then they forget how they got it. To me, that it's very important to remember that I didn't do this alone. That I did not, like I've had other things and other forces that have kind of helped guide me and I talk about, I have pushers and I have pullers in my life. Those people that have been before me are pulling me, and those behind me that are trying to get where I'm at or that I'm trying to help are pushing me to continue to go forth. And so, thank God for the pushers and the pullers of life. You know what I mean? Because like I need them. I need those people in my life because if not, I'm liable to get still. I'm liable to get stagnant. I'm liable to not ever move again. And that for me is not something that's not a place I want to be. I don't want to be spinning tires. I don't want to be stuck. My daughter-in-law, like, it's so funny because, like, I have such a great relationship with my daughter-in-law, and she's like, Judy, like, you're always doing something. Like, I don't think that you could ever not do something. And I said, I don't want to never not do anything. Like,
Oh, you're a giver. I swear to God. I mean, you've just always, ever since I've known you. So, you don't like to ask for help. I don't know if you've ever asked my help for anything. So, yeah, and that's just the way you are. You know, we got the gardener and the flower, and you're the gardener. I'm the flower. Okay. So, you have to remain, as I'm reading this comment from Tim, you have to remain humble and grateful. That worked for me. Oh, amen. And we actually talked about that last week, Tim and I. Gratitude, and gratitude begets abundance. So, I mean, practice that gratitude shit every day, okay? And
yeah. So
I
you
advise
talk
it.
about the gratitude, and I will share this too because when I went into treatment, so I have to share. So when I tell people this, like they get really amazed. So when I went into treatment, I had a counselor in there and she said, Judy, I need you to give me 5 things that you're grateful for. And so I went back on the wing and I was asking all the girls, like, what am I grateful for? Because I really wasn't grateful for anything. And so, like, I wrote this stuff down there, like, tell them that you're grateful for your life and, all this stuff. And so I wrote these 5 things down and I took it back to my counselor and she said, now I want you to go back to the wing and I want you to write your own gratitude list because I know you had them tell you what to write. And, I share this because I was not even grateful for my life when I got there. Like that, I didn't even put it down because I really meant it. I wrote it because the girls told me that, I should be grateful for my life. And so I
That's a
went,
sad space to be.
it
I've been
is.
there.
So I went back and I started writing this gratitude list and I done double lines on a full set of, a sheet of paper and I had it split into two columns and I was able to write gratitude that filled up the front and the back page of that and it had like this, so it would have been 4 columns of just gratitude and I was able to take that back to my counselor and I was sincerely grateful for those things that I wrote on that paper. Like I remember writing down that I was grateful for the taste buds on my tongue. And so that oh
That's a really good one, but I gotta tell you, I get very specific in my gratitude. I love that. Yeah.
so that was
Not
something
that
I
specific,
really
but now that you mention it, I'm gonna add that tonight. Put that on my list. Uh,
I know because I love food. I don't know about you.
I love to eat, okay, and I love to taste my food, and I love to embrace all the flavors and the nuances. So, yeah, I mean, actually, was scared I might get COVID because I would lose my taste. Okay,
I
you know
did
that.
not lose my taste either
You
time I
didn't?
had COVID. So no, I lost my sense of smell, but not my taste. I'm like, thank you, God,
Oh,
because
I
I
don't
want to
know.
taste
It's
my
gonna be
food.
hard. I don't want to lose my smell either because our smell is what controls our taste. So you still taste it even without your smell?
I did, and I mean, I kept telling everybody, man, that is so weird because I didn't think that I could do that. But yes, ma'am, I did. I was able to taste my food, but I could not smell nothing. Now, the second time I had COVID, I only lost my smell for like a day.
Right, right. Yeah, I see. I've tried testing that theory out before by plugging my nose, and I couldn't.
Mhm.
I could tell that I could not taste. So that's fascinating. And you just got over COVID again, didn't you?
I did, and this round was pretty bad. Like I had a lot of issues with breathing. I'm still having some issues breathing. I had some disorientation, some confusion. It about took a toll on me this time. So thank
Do
God
you
it didn't.
do you have long COVID? Is that what it's called?
I don't know what it's called, but it really like it was different than the first time I had it. Um,
Okay. Well, I think long COVID comes after you've not had it for a while, but you literally just had COVID.
all right, so I got it in September last year,
Uh-huh.
and I went and had the infusion done, but and I don't want to get too much into the vaccine because I have my own personal opinions about that, and I don't want it to be a debate on that. But
Sure.
um, I did,
Same.
yeah. So I wound up like I had COVID. July 14th is when I tested positive for it. So I'm still trying to get over some of the fatigue and stuff. It's better, but definitely not as
Okay,
bad as
yeah,
it
so
was.
it's very, very recent. Okay.
Hmm.
So, uh, that's crazy. But Yeah. So I know we've kind of come to the end, but I know I told you if you wanted to continue talking, I just didn't want you to feel pressure to. I tell you, the hour flies, and there's still so much I want to talk to you about. But again, I want to be respectful of your time. I do want to say for now, you were doing peer support. We both became peer supporters in our recovery. Um, and that's how we met. And now you are actually, since you got your bachelor's degree, you have, elevated to a case manager
Yes.
role. But I'm assuming you still do peer work, or
I mean, I kind of feel like I do, and I'm on that third job that I was talking about. I'm on the crisis team, and so with that, I am peer support on that, so I'm still
yeah,
able to go out and help in that aspect of it. And I do feel like at the agency where I work, like I still do groups on a peer to peer basis. But I still do the case management stuff as well, and then I do like a bunch of data stuff that has to be done. So. I have a lot of stuff a lot of stuff I do, but
that's
I love
interesting. But since
yeah, I love,
you got your start in peer work. I love it.
mhm.
I love it. And now you are actually case manager, and they are two different roles. But I do believe that the experience that you bring is invaluable to the case manager role, because there are so many case managers, they don't have any personal lived experience. So any population that you serve are benefiting from that, just as when people go to therapists or doctors and psychiatrists, and some of these professionals have never had any lived experience or any experience whatsoever of their own with addiction or mental health issues. And so it just adds that personal flavor to it when a member gets to work with you, because you literally, they can relate more to you. And that's why I love what I do, because a lot of my members will be like, "Oh, I just love talking to you because the doctor doesn't really get it. Doctor's got the school smarts, but you get it. You get um, so you get to carry that with you. It's not like you just became a case manager just because, oh, I just want to be a case manager." And I think that makes a huge difference in the care you provide. And so you're always going to have that peer support under your belt. It's going to be the nature of who you are.
I do believe that it's just part of who I am. I do think that, and the thing about working in this field is that, just as important as it is to work with individuals because we're more on that same playing field with them, if you will. But like for the ones, because you mentioned, like when you mentioned, like those that don't have the personal experience with it, I feel like that as peer support coming into agencies and working with professionals and working in the professional field with people who are, case managers, counselors, therapists, doctors, the judicial system, like all of that, like working with them, I think that we bring a whole lot to the table there as well because that, we're coming from like I've been in the seat on the other side of the desk, you know. So I've been able to be on both sides of the desk, and that is something
Exactly.
that is very grateful to be. Yeah.
Exactly. And Tim just said she can actually help more people as a case manager having lived experience. Great job in testimony. Absolutely. Amen. Hallelujah. I agree. And it's fascinating. And then in just a few short years, she's going to be a therapist. So it's just going to be amazing. And the number one complaint I get with my members when they talk about them going to therapy or doctors or whatever, the number one complaint I get, and just so you can put this in your little toolbox, for future references, is they feel like, no, they don't complain. Not everybody complains, but the number one complaint I do get is they feel like they're not being heard from their therapist. And sometimes that goes hand in hand with the therapist not having lived experience or any kind of actual experience. But and sometimes it's just they're just not really good at what they do. But I just wanted to share that with you, just so you keep that in your mind. And I know you are an excellent listener because you were helping me with my boy troubles the other day. So um, um, that's the number one complaint I have heard over the years is I don't feel like he or she's listening to me. So, they have active listening skills, but I don't think you have to worry about that.
No,
But
and,
yeah,
and I get it because I think that I have been like again, I've been on that side of the table where I didn't feel like I was heard. So that's why I still go into like I want to be able to make sure that I'm always that person that can hear them. Like I'm listening to understand versus I'm listening to respond to them. And but the thing of it is that also like coming from where we come from to be able to work in the professional field, my goal is to kind of help other people to understand like, hey, wait a minute, there's a different side of this. Let me tell you what how we think. We as I am the client is me, and I still truly believe that. I always believe that. I always continue to tell my people that I am you and you are me, because I never want them to think that there's no level differences in us. Yes, I may be in a different position and a different place in life, but at the end of the day, like I am you. Like this up here has changed a whole lot, but there's still a whole lot there that's still that's always going to be there. That's always going to be ingrained in me. I don't know if that makes sense. So I want to be able to bring that to the table because sometimes other people can't see a different perspective until somebody shares their perspective. You know what I mean? And so I
I
think that's a
agree
big thing.
100%. No, you're right. And a key point to all that is the person has to be open and willing to listen to what you're saying, because like you said, I mean, there's a difference between just listening and hearing and listening and waiting to respond, because you can talk till you're blue in the head, but if the person sitting on the other end of the table isn't open to hearing what you're going to say, then that makes a difference too. But no, I think that's so important. I just love what all you just said. Okay, thank you. I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say. I I appreciate that so much. That keeping with, will you come back? I do want to still ask you one more thing, but will you come back for a part two at a later date?
I will. I would be glad to.
And if you don't,
You know how to contact me.
yeah, it's just
You know
like
where I live, actually.
I do. I actually do. Your address keeps popping up as my address when I Google myself. Okay. One question. Do you have any, I don't know how, I used to say words of wisdom. I don't know. Do you have any, if you had somebody sitting in, well, we do. We got a few people sitting in front of us right now. But just say someone's struggling right now and they're watching this right now, and you can only tell them one thing to kind of maybe hopefully inspire them in some kind of way. What would you like to say?
Oh, Lord, just one thing.
It can be whatever. I don't care. Whatever you want to say.
If a person is struggling, like I will say this, I know the struggle. I know what it's like to be in that place. So I guess the best thing that I could actually say is to really take a chance on yourself and invest in yourself. Reach out and ask for help. You know, contact, I know we have social media everywhere. Get in somebody's inbox that you know is in recovery that's doing it. Mine, I'm sure Sherry could show you the way. There's other people. I know you see other people on the internet, on social media that has been in recovery. Reach out and say, hey, I need help. And hopefully if they are in a program, if they're doing something, if they're in recovery, they will direct you to the people that you can get help from. So invest in yourself. That's the best thing I can say.
Oh, I love that. Yes, invest in yourself. And yes, absolutely. And if you're listening and you want to reach out to me, feel free. You can reach out to me all over social media. So it's not just limited to Instagram. I'm everywhere, okay? So, Judy, I can't thank you enough. I know we ran over a little bit. I hope you will forgive me.
I'm good. Yeah. You are forgiven. You are forgiven.
You are forgiven. Kiss the ring. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thank you to everybody that joined us this evening. Special shout out to Tim for joining us and staying through the whole chit chat. I love you, Judy. Until next time, have a good evening.
Thank you. I love you too. Bye.